Welcome to the 2 Feet First Entrepreneur Podcast. I am so glad that you are here today with me. And in the last episode, episode 15, we discussed why online entrepreneurs, online content creators, digital content makers need to start thinking about content differently by expanding their content. So if you happen to miss that episode 15, I invite you to pause this episode. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. And listen to episode 15. Yep, I'm going to say it again, so that you have a basic understanding of what I'm talking about, what I mean when I say expand your content. Now that you know what I mean by expanding your content, let's jump into this episode. Today, we are diving deep into why I decided to test a new system to create social media content. Now, I am always looking for new and effective ways to create content, especially social media content, because it can be very, very time consuming. I know you know it. And I have come to the realization of the importance of systems that help you maximize your time. So if you do not have systems in place, you are not maximizing your time. And so we're going to talk about this new system. And I decided to test it out because I wanted to share. Okay, hang on. So I decided to test out a new social media content creation strategy system. Wow, that was a tongue twister. And I wanted to share the idea with you because I think we all can learn from each other. And I want to share with what I have decided to start and see if you can benefit from it. So the new system is based on expanding one main content idea and using it repeatedly. So remember, episode 15, we talk about that more. So what was wrong with my old system? Because you're probably wondering, and you might be wondering, is my system wrong too? So the first thing was that it was so time consuming. And because it was so time consuming, I actually didn't do it. And if you don't believe me, look at my followers on my DIY home currently in my Instagram account. I have 1,454, so 1,454 followers on Instagram. And I have had that account since 2014. Yes, I had to look that up. What was my first post? It was in 2014, and that is 8 years. So in 8 years, I have 1,454 followers. And the reason why things have changed in Instagram. So if you're like, oh my gosh, she's just lazy, I'm zoning out of this. So things have changed in Instagram since I first started. When I first started, you needed to be posting at least 5 times a day, every day of the week. And that was something that I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was at the time during that time, I was a stay-at-home mom with 3 little kids. I think, my youngest was just born in that year. And so I had a brand new baby. I would have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And a house that needed a lot of work. And my husband also at the time was traveling for work. And so he was actually gone 3 weeks out of the month, every single month. And so that was a lot. And I could not put that type of time into it. So it was just too time consuming for me. Also, it was very overwhelming. There was so much that needed to happen for it. I needed to create this post, and then I needed to create a caption for it when I was just struggling to try to get the post out for my main area. And so that was really overwhelming for me. And I was only sharing, I talked about this in episode 15, I was only sharing one post for one idea. So when I did a project, that was the only post I was sharing. And I thought I can only share that piece one time. That's the problem I did. I know that so many people have educated people on that now, and I hope you're not doing that, but that would equal not a lot of content, obviously. And so that is why my following is so low, because I wasn't consistent, because I wasn't sharing like I should be. And I wasn't benefiting my audience, to be honest. I was just here willy-nilly and not growing this audience to start wanting to communicate with me. And they found me as an expert. I was just here and there every once in a while. So that's why my old system wasn't working. I hope you guys are not doing my old system, because that doesn't work for anyone. Maybe it does. Maybe it does work for some people, but obviously it didn't work for me. So let's talk about this new system, what I'm doing new, what this new thing is, and how I'm going to make it work. So we've talked about it multiple times. I'm expanding one idea into multiple pieces of content. This is where it might kind of get confusing a little bit, so I'm going to try to break it down for you a little bit better. So the way it starts is I have a main idea. We talked about this in episode 15. So I have the main idea, and inside that idea, I create different pieces of content that I can create around that main idea. Now, from those pieces of content that are now expanded, think of it as a tree, okay? We've got some bigger branches coming out. Now we're going to take that idea, which is a piece of content at this point, and we are going to expand that as well. Okay, I'm going to say that again. So we have our main brainstorming idea, and from that we're creating multiple pieces of content. And from those pieces of content, we're creating even more content for social media. Not for blog posts, not for YouTube videos. And I mean, honestly though, it's YouTube Shorts. So don't confuse that. That is YouTube Shorts, not YouTube main videos. Okay. So I am taking in YouTube Shorts into the social media side of it. So this is going to be, the social media side of it is going to be YouTube Shorts. It's going to be Instagram Reels, Instagram Post, Instagram Lives, Instagram carousels. The ones that I'm really focusing on is Reels and carousels. And then it's also going to go to TikTok, and it's also going to be for Pinterest idea pins. I had to think about it. They've changed the name a couple times. So Pinterest idea pins. And I mean, there might be other places that you could share these pieces of content, but those are my main ones. So I wanted to kind of tell you, I'm taking this one content and I'm even expanding it more. So the way that this works is inside my project management software, and I've talked about this in another episode. Oh my goodness, what episode was that? Episode 13. Episode 13, I talked about my project management tool and how I use it as a content creator. And so inside of that, I have these ideas, right? And I break them down into all these different pieces. And then from there, I use Zapier, because that is my automation tool that I'm using. And I transfer that content to a Google spreadsheet. Now, this Google spreadsheet has a bunch of information in it. I'm pulling it up right now so I can walk you through it. So it has the different posts that I'm going to be creating. So that's types of content. So that's like a regular static post, a carousel, a reel, a live, and a story. And then from there, I have different hashtag groups and the different platforms. So platforms would be Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok for me. And so in another tab, I have the hashtag manager, which I list out all the hashtags that I could possibly be using. And at the very bottom, it takes these hashtags and automatically sorts them. So it changes every time that you enter some new information. So that way you're not sharing the same hashtags over and over again, because that is something that we shouldn't be doing. The next tab is called the prompts tag, where I have different hooks in there to start out my caption or my video to get people to draw them in. And I'm still working on this. This is something that I am not very good at. So I am working on this. So that's why I needed this spot for that. And also here too, I have a CTA, so call to action, to go at the bottom of either the video or inside the caption itself. So now here's where the fun part comes in. So inside this part, this next tab is called strategy planning, is what I called it. And so in here, that main idea that I came up with is coming into this area. And so I am going to just hurry and let's kind of walk that through for this actual episode. Let's kind of do that because I haven't done it yet. And so let's see, we're going to talk about, today's is why I decided to test a new system to create social media content. Okay. So from here, I have different category types that I'm going to be hitting, that I'm going to be splitting this content piece up into. So there's so many different ways that you can go with this, and I have different ones for this channel. So my 2 Feet First Entrepreneur podcast compared to just my 2 Feet First DIY home ones. And so I can kind of talk about those a little differently because I have different audiences at both of those. And so these different content pieces, so I'm going to hurry and name them. So number one, or it doesn't even matter, they're in an order, but it doesn't matter which way you do. The first one is social proof. And this is where I'll have spotlights, highlights, before and after testimonials, Q&As, or I'll be sharing the podcast quote or audiogram or both with my audience. So that is the social proof. So from this post, from this idea, that's what I'm trying to say. From this idea, why I decided to test a new system, I would create a piece of content about social proof. Okay. And then the next one is tips or tutorials. So tip or how to do something step by step. So from that, I would take this one idea and I would show how to do something. So for example, what I would do is I would do a screenshot of this Google spreadsheet and I would share it on social media. That would be that one piece of content, like, hey, have you thought of doing this? And share that one piece of content. And that would be the tips and tutorials. The next one is A versus B, or good versus bad, which is comparing two situations, outcomes, or point in a journey. So you're basically comparing two things, A and B, or good and bad. So I could compare in this example, doing it without this system, just sharing willy-nilly, or having a plan. And I don't know exactly how I would do that quite yet because I haven't thought through it quite yet, but you kind of get the gist of that. The next one is myths or mistakes. And just so you know, some of these can be broken up, but for how many times I want to post to social media, I brought some of them together because it just made sense to me. So this one is myths and mistakes. What's a myth on a topic, or what's a mistake you have made or see someone else making around this topic? So again, the topic is about creating a new social media content system. And so the myth around it would be that content making is hard and you have to come up with it from scratch and you only get one piece of content. And so I could show, again, something with a spreadsheet and how it works. So that's another one. Another one that I have is mindset. So what mind shift, motivation, or inspiring story does my audience need to hear about this topic? So I would be maybe show it all completed, this spreadsheet, and then do quick little snaps of all the different pieces of content that I created from it so that they can see one idea into all these different ideas. So mindset shift for that one, or how it works. Another one is take action or resources. So something I learned new this week, or a book or podcast or app, inspire people to take action on the topic. So sometimes some of these is, I learned this. So maybe this one would be for this, like, have you thought of different content categories for your social media posts and how you can expand your content? And I would list out all these different content categories to share with people. That could be my post. And all of these, as you can tell, could be reels. They could be anything. I mean, honestly, they're going to be reels, or they're going to be carousels, because those are the ones that are performing the best right now. And so that's how I would do that. There's also a consider category, what's something I've observed or do differently that I could talk about. So a lot of these too are some of my story ones that I want to share to my audience one-on-one with them. And so this would be one of those story ones. Another one is audience feedback, which is asking, what's your questions? Vote for this. Which one do you like better? So that would be something that I would put on there. And then there's an everyday one, which for me, every week, I'm just sharing 3 inspiring resources from other people that I'm sharing every week on this. But it could be behind the scenes of something personal in your business, or just personal, but it's related to the topic. So you just basically are breaking up this one topic item, this one project, this one piece of content, into multiple pieces of content for social media. So that is the whole idea behind that. And if you're wondering what this spreadsheet looks like, I'm going to encourage you to go to my Instagram and keep an eye out for it, because guess what? It's going to be on there. It's going to be one of those pieces of content that I'm talking about, and you can see it inside there. Now, once all this is done, it takes it to another page that is called Weekly Content Planner. And see, this is where I'd also be applying this into some of those areas, but you guys didn't know about it yet, so I wasn't sharing that. And in this, it takes all that content that I just created, ideas, how I want to design my reels, what type it is, if it isn't a reel, just how I want to design my post. And then from there, it takes the hook that I decided on, and I start writing out the caption for this, and I choose my call to action, and I choose my hashtag group. And what it does is it compiles all this up and makes it its own caption type. And then I say that I'm done with it, and I go back to ClickUp, and I move it to a different status. So it's going to say that I'm done. Let me make sure I tell you what it says. It says when I'm done with it, that topic is added to the spreadsheet, is what it says when it first goes into the spreadsheet, and then it goes spreadsheet is done. So once I switch that, what happens is that Zapier will take that information, because I have different things going on inside the spreadsheet itself that allows for this automation, where it will take those items that I did. It'll take the idea, which would be under whatever content category it is. So say it's social proof. So it's going to take that idea. It's going to pull in the design, post design of what I want it to look like. And then it's going to pull in that caption as well. And it's going to transfer all of that to ClickUp, where I can see that inside my social content planner, is what I call it. And if I click on it, it will give me all those details for each of them. I'm going to, again, show this on Instagram, so be sure to look over there of what this looks like. And if I click on it, it'll pull it up. It'll tell me what I want to talk about, if I'm creating a reel, or what my carousel needs to have in it. And then it'll show me also the caption. So all I have to do once I have created the actual media, I would take this caption and schedule it, or post it live, whatever you're using to do that. I do use a scheduler to do it because it saves me time. So that is how this new system is working. I am basically just trying to make it easier for me to manage the content, where I take one piece. And so instead of just sharing one piece of content, I am breaking that up into multiple pieces of content that makes it more manageable, because you're giving it in 15-second clips or a couple slides or whatever it might be. Yes, it still takes time to design those, but it takes less time coming up with the idea. And it also makes it all relevant. So that way your audience is getting even more details of what they're looking for. So why should you bother switching to a new system, if you're wondering? Because maybe you're thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, I want that spreadsheet, whatever it might be. But if you take anything away from this, I hope that you see the benefit of sharing one idea and then breaking it up multiple different ways. That is something that I have discovered, and I hope you are seeing the benefit of that with it. Because basically what you're doing is filling in the gaps. You're filling in those little gaps that your audience does have those questions too, but you're filling them in and you're showing content. You're entertaining them at the same time. Honestly, some of those things that I was sharing, those categories, you can just make it entertaining. It doesn't even have to be something that educates people. It could just be entertaining. When, for example, some of those, what was one? A versus B, it could just be an entertaining clip about, do I choose this or do I choose this, right? Like, it doesn't have to be educational. So make sure you're just entertaining your audience, filling in the gaps for them, because that is why they're there. That is why they came to you. Now, because this is an experiment, I will be back after testing out the system, and I'll probably be tweaking it, because nothing's perfect when it comes out, and we're always just striving to make progress, not being perfect. And so I'll be back in 3 months and again in 6 months, because I think we need at least 6 months to fully update see how it's working for me and my content. I will note though, at the time of recording this, I gave you my Instagram for my DIY spot. So that's 54 followers on my 2 Feet First Entrepreneur, because it is a brand new site, a brand new handle. On Instagram, I have 68 followers. So if you want to kind of see the difference, I'm giving the details here, I'm giving the data, seeing how it works, and we'll see how many pieces of content I'll make before those times, because I'll be sharing again in 3 months and in 6 months how it's working. I'm going to be sharing if it's easier to produce content, and then the most important question, am I growing my reach? So AKA my audience. Am I actually getting the benefit out of it? So those are the 2 things that I'm really looking at answering for you after doing this test is it easier to produce content, and is it growing my reach? If you have any other questions you want to be answered about this new system, please DM me on Instagram at TFF Entrepreneur, or you can always email me at hello@twofeetfirst.com. And I'm going to hurry and throw a teaser out there. I'm actually looking at making this spreadsheet. I just talked to a developer today about potentially making this an app, a web app. And so if you're interested, I would love for you to reach out to me, because I need to talk to lots of different content creators, entrepreneurs, to see what their system is now and how they would like to use it, what would benefit them with it. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. Again, those 2 ways, on Instagram at TFF Entrepreneur, or you can email me at hello@twofeetfirst.com, because I want to hear from you if you are interested in the system. And also, if you are listening to this in the future, I will update the show notes to link to these results in this episode, but also in those episodes as well. So if you want to be able to find it quickly, if it's been 3 months since this time or 6 months, I will link to it in the show notes just so you know, which is found on my website at 2feetfirstentrepreneur.com, but there is the link again below in this episode. And with that, I will see you next time.